I'm Penny Davis. I'm with I have the website hellopennydavis.com and a Facebook group that if you're a hired teacher, you're going to want to join this group. It is VIPKid Teachers Hired. If you are still in the process of being hired, please check out the Facebook group VIPKid Teachers Wanted, and that one will guide you through the hiring process. You can see my link to apply down here in the description on YouTube, and I'd love to help you through that hiring process. But this video today is for hired teachers, and it's to explain two things that are really very closely connected, and that is the time change and the new Ministry of Education regulations that are coming into effect. So I'm making this video on October the 21st of 2019, and there are two big changes coming in the next week. The first one is the new Ministry of Education regulations that are taking place, that are coming into effect on November the 1st. And the second thing is the time change that most Americans have. I know there's some states that don't do the time change. I know Arizona and I think Indiana, they don't do the time change for daylight savings and all that stuff. But for most of us, we are going to go through this time change, the fallback, where we are gaining an hour. We're moving our clocks back an hour. And I want to explain to you how that affects your bookings. And then we'll talk about the Ministry of Education regulations and how those further affect your booking. So, all right, so right now I'm in the Eastern time zone. I actually kind of have it pretty easy because I am during the summer hours. Is that daylight savings times or is that standard time? I can never remember. I think that's daylight savings time during the summer, spring through summer or through early fall. This is when we are exactly 12 hours apart from Beijing. So as the regulations stand right now, we can teach from 8:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night in Beijing time. So for me in the Eastern time zone, I'm exactly 12 hours behind. That is 8:30 at night until 10 o'clock in the morning. Now that the time is changing, we are moving back an hour. Okay, but China does not observe this. They do not change their times at all. Okay, so what they do is they adjust our schedule to match theirs. So we are going to move back an hour. That means that I will be able to teach 7:30 at night until 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll talk about that 9 o'clock end time here in just a little bit, okay? So, but everything is moving back an hour. If you want to teach the same times that you are teaching now, China time, you're going to have to start teaching an hour earlier. So for me, I usually teach 6:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning. To keep those same time slots open, I'm going to have to move to 5:30, opening at 5:30 in the morning, and then I will be able to teach until 9 o'clock in the morning. So just everything moves back an hour. Now, the wonderful folks at VIPKid know that time change messes with our head. It always has, it always will. So what they do is they go ahead on our booking calendar, they go ahead and do that adjustment for us. So anything that you see on the bookings page, all that nice little chart that you see, it's going to be in your time zone. And as long as your time zone is set correctly, it will automatically adjust for your time zone. So if you look on the schedule for next week, which is what, October, what would that be? Today's the 21st, so it would be to the 28th. If you look on the 28th through whatever that first part of November is, okay? If you look through on that week, there are some grayed out blocks down there in the middle of the night on some days. That is where they are adjusting the schedule for us for the daylight savings time. Okay, so you will not be able to open those that are in those blocks, and that's how they adjust the schedule there. So anything that you see for bookings, you're going to see in your local time zone. It is going to automatically adjust for that local time zone. So when the time actually changes on Saturday night, the 2nd, which is, well, actually it's the official time change happens at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning, the 3rd. Okay, so if you'll look on the schedule, you will see, and I'm going to put a screenshot of it here. In fact, I can do that right now. Let me put that screenshot here. Okay, All right. So if you'll look on the schedule, if you'll see that grayed out area that's up here on this line, okay? The grayed out area on Monday through Saturday, that is the time that those times don't exist. If you look way over here on the left side of the screen, you'll notice there's a 1 a.m., then 1:30, and then another 1 a.m. and 1:30. Okay, so that's where that time goes back. So we actually get the 1 a.m. and the 1:30 slot twice on that night. Okay, so you would teach, if you want to teach all night Saturday night in through Sunday morning, you could teach a 1 a.m. slot and then a 1:30 a.m. slot. That's in the old time, and then the time changes until you get that 1 a.m. and 1:30 a.m. slot again. Okay, that's in your local time. Now remember, in China, they don't have that change, so it's just all straight through for them. Okay, but that's how they adjust for the time change on our calendar. Okay, so they already adjust for it. All of this is in my local Eastern time zone. For you, it might be different with your whatever time zone you're in, but as long as your time zone is set correctly, it has already adjusted for these. You don't have to do those calculations. Okay, it's already adjusted for your time zones. Okay, so anything that you want to do, so you can look here, this is, yeah, I usually, as I say, I usually teach 6:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock. So I'm going to be able to keep those same time zones, I'm going to have to get up earlier. Okay, I'm going to have to get up and start teaching at 5:30 in the morning, which just absolutely stinks, but we got to do what we got to do. I got to have those hours. Okay, so that explains the time zone. I hope that's clear for you. Just understand that if you were a 12-hour time difference, like we were in the Eastern time zone, you will now be a 13-hour time difference. Okay, so 10 o'clock for them is going to be 9 o'clock for us. Okay, so I hope that clears that up. If you're in the Central time zone, you were 13 hours behind China. Now you're going to be 14 hours behind China. If you are Mountain, you were 14, now you'll be 15. If you're Mountain time zone, then you would be 16 hours. I think that's right. Okay. If you're still confused, you can look up on your phone and get an app there that's got a dual time zone, and you can really see what the difference is there, and it can really help you with that one. Okay, so that's talking about the time zone, the time changes in that one. So just know that everything that you do is going to have to be an hour earlier your time to stay with the correct times. Now, the Ministry of Education guidelines that just came out, they're now being officially put in place as of November the 1st. By the way, the time change hits on November the 3rd. These new Ministry of Education guidelines go into effect on November the 1st. So this is all within 72 hours. All of this stuff is taking place. Okay. Now, what is happening is they have passed a couple of regulations saying that classes cannot be taken any later than 9 o'clock at night, Beijing time. Okay, so we no longer will be able to teach major course classes, supplementary course classes. That means Starlight, proper pronunciation, even the level 7 classes, any of those extra supplemental classes, we will no longer be able to teach at 9 o'clock, the 9 o'clock p.m. slot or the 9:30 p.m. slot, China time. Okay. However, due to, I don't know if it's loopholes or whatever, the way they've interpreted the rules, they have now said that we can still teach trial classes at 9 o'clock and 9:30. In those 9 o'clock and 9:30 slots, we can still teach trial classes, and we can still teach students that are not in mainland China. So if they are not in China, so yeah, we've got students all over the place. Okay, I know people that have I don't know that I've ever taught anyone outside of China, but maybe I have and just haven't noticed it. But we've got students that are in Malaysia and France, and some students that are even here in America, that they can still take classes in those later time zones. And as VIPKid expands to other countries, we're going to see that as well. So those students will still be able to book those 9 and 9:30 time slots. What does that mean for us? That means that those 9 and 9:30 time slots at night can still be booked. However, I'm going to warn you, those bookings are probably going to be few and far between. Okay, so there's probably not going to be a lot of them, so don't be surprised if they don't book. However, you can still get bookings for those times. So I'm going to leave them open, see what happens. There was a lot of confusion because they had never removed those 2 time slots from our schedule. So a lot of people were like, are they going to enforce this or not? Well, the reason is they were trying to make sure that we could still book those 2 slots with trial classes, okay, and with these outside of China classes. So that's good news for us that we will still be able to get bookings in that 9 o'clock and 9:30 slot. However, I don't think they're going to book very well. So good luck with that. I hope that you do well. I'm hoping that VIPKid really pushes the trials to be booked in those last 2 so that many of us can get trial classes in those times. So if you don't have trial certification, or if you've removed the trial certification, definitely add that back so that you can get those trial classes. 2 other little changes there. There's another part of the regulation that says that classes cannot be longer than 40 minutes. Okay. Now, the way this is going to affect us, the very advanced English classes and the level 7 classes are 50 minutes long. So to accommodate this regulation of no longer than 40-minute classes, what they're doing is putting a 10-minute break in the middle of the class. So from my understanding, what I read is you will teach 25 minutes, you will take a break for 10 minutes, and then you will teach for 23 minutes after that. So you're only losing a few minutes of instruction time, but you will have to take that 10-minute lesson or that 10-minute break in there. That still gives you 2 minutes to get out of one class and into the next class. We'll see how that works, because those level 7 classes, I've taught several level 7 classes now, and I can barely get through them in 50 minutes. Usually it's like 55 minutes before I can get through them. So I'm hoping that maybe they'll cut a few slides out of those lessons. So watch your timing very carefully on those. But this also affects back-to-back classes. Students can no longer book back-to-back classes because of needing that 10-minute break. So the back-to-back classes would count as going that full time. So they can no longer book back-to-back classes, but they can book, like they could book the 6 o'clock time zone, the time block, skip the 6:30 and then do a 7 o'clock time block. So if they want to get 2 classes in during a day, they can do that. They just have to take a break in between them. Okay, so I hope that explains the differences that are coming out with the time zone changes and with these new Ministry of Education guidelines. I hope you get great bookings. I know a lot of people have been very worried because it looked like we were going to lose 2 hours of teaching time. That's a lot of money. Okay, that is a lot of money unless you're willing to get up way earlier. So that's a lot of money for all of us. Okay, and I understand that concern. So maybe we're going to have to adjust our schedule. Maybe we'll have to start teaching in the evenings or something like that. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do that to keep up with the same number of classes. Anyway, all right, I hope that explains a lot for you. Again, please join my Facebook group, VIPKid Teachers Hired. I also have on my website, hellopennydavis.com, I have lots and lots of information there about that's for hired teachers. It kind of explains things from a teacher's perspective. I have not updated it with this latest information. I'll get that on there as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching. Please give me a like and a subscribe here on YouTube, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.